Parshas Shelach, Tavshin Ayin Daled. We're here once again, great acoustics at Bika Shalom headquarters in Lakewood, New Jersey. Bika Shalom world headquarters now, that they've gone national and probably international too. Before we begin tonight's actual Parshah Shiur, we'd like to mention tonight's Shiur is Le'ilu Nishmas Baruch Yosef ben Reb Avram Halevi, the father-in-law of the proprietor, of the founding member of the South Side Sandwich Shop Shiur that began almost 5 years ago now. His father-in-law, whose name was Bruce Goldner, a Baal Chesed, somebody that was Isaac in Chesed, all day, every day, constantly collecting to make life easier for those who are less fortunate than some of us are, and somebody who, unfortunately, a few years ago passed away at much too young of an age. And tonight's Shiur is Le'ilu Nishmas, our old friend, Bruce Goldner. So Parshas Shelach, in years past, we've spoken about one of my favorite subjects every year. And this subject, on the Inyan of the Meraglim, the Inyan of different things that happened in this week's Parsha, this is the subject of Eretz Yisrael. And we've discussed many different aspects of what happened with the Meraglim and what they did about their trip to and the report that they came back with about Eretz Yisrael. One of the interesting things to note is that it seems very much that a vital component of what was wrong with what the Meraglim did was the fact, not just that it was Lashon Hara, because Lashon Hara in itself, we see from the end of last week's Parsha with Miriam Hanaviah, Lashon Hara in itself, about Eretz Yisrael in this week's Parsha, Lashon Hara in itself is a terrible, terrible thing. But it seems that a large problem with what the Meraglim did was the fact that the Lashon Hara was said about Eretz Yisrael. There's Lashon Hara, and then there's Lashon Hara that's on a totally, totally different level. A Lashon Hara that one speaks about Eretz Yisrael. And the Nesivos Shalom goes through a whole piece over here, and he tries to explain to us in a few different ways what is it about Eretz Yisrael, besides the fact that it's the land that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to us. What is it about Eretz Yisrael? What are some of the very special things that Eretz Yisrael has? What makes Eretz Yisrael different? And there are a few Mamarei Chazal which discuss this, and they tell us the different milas and the differences that Eretz Yisrael has with any other place in the world. Firstly, there's a very interesting Mechilta in Parshas Boy. The Mechilta tells us that Ein HaShechina Nigles B'chutz La'aretz, that the Shechina does not actually reveal himself in Chutz La'aretz, outside of Eretz Yisrael. And he brings a very, very interesting raya. We all know, we're coming around to it in a few months again. I was just going to say that we recently landed on Yom Kippur, but Yom Kippur is like already ages ago, another couple of months, we're back to Rosh Hashanah again. But we all know the Haftorah by Mincha on Yom Kippur, we land the Haftorah of Yoina Hanavi. And it says, the Pasuk says in Yoina, Vayokam Yoina livroyach Tarshisha. Yoina got up to run away to Tarshish, mipnei Hashem. Yoina Hanavi was saying, let me go, where? Let me go to Chutz La'aretz, where there's no Shechina, and the Shechina won't find me, and the Shechina will not speak to me. So the Mechilta says, there's a raya from here, that there is no actual real Hashraz Hashchina on one who is dwelling and who is now at this time in Chutz La'aretz. The Kuzari brings down on a higher level, on a more Kabbalistic level, that there are sparks of godliness throughout the world. But these sparks of godliness, they only rest on a Yid really when he is in Eretz Yisrael. And everybody can understand that in their own way, but that's what the Kuzari says. Just as with a vineyard, we've given this example a number of times over the years. A vineyard, we know, has to be on the optimum, most fertile ground. And most times you'll find a vineyard in the beautiful, fertile ground of a mountain. And in order for the grapes to grow, in order for a vineyard to thrive, it has to be just in that ground, the optimum ground, which is a mountainous region. And so too, says the Nesivos Shalom, so too it is for a Yid. The place of optimum growth, a Yid could excel in Chutz La'aretz. A Yid could grow, he could steig in Chutz La'aretz. But if you want to know where your ground is, where is the most fertile ground, the optimum place for a Yid to grow and to thrive, that is in Eretz Yisrael. The Medrash in Tehillim brings the following. The Medrash in Tehillim says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says like this: Shivim umois barasi, I created 70 nations. Ubocharti b'Yisrael. Hashem says I created 70 nations, and I chose Klal Yisrael. Shiva yomim barasi. Shiva yomim barasi alami. In 7 days, the world was created. The world was created in a span of 7 days. Uvacharti b'yoyim haShabbos. The day that was chosen was the day of Shabbos. And then finally, Sheva arotzois barasi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, I created 7 continents. Uvacharti b'Eretz Yisrael. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, I chose 3 things. I created 70 nations and I chose Klal Yisrael. I created the world in a span of 7 days and I chose Shabbos. And then I created 7 continents, 7 places on earth, and from all of those, I chose Eretz Yisrael. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. Chazal tell us, and the Shalom brings down this, the Chazal, the Rambam says, Lahalacha, the Rambam paskins halacha in Hilchos Malachim, Perek Hey, that it is usher for a person to leave Eretz Yisrael unless 2 things. Unless it is for limud haTorah or to get married. And the Rambam says that even when it is mutter to leave, still those who follow midas hachasidus should still not leave Eretz Yisrael. So it's really never mutter to leave. It's only mutter in the case of 2 extreme circumstances. And even in those 2 extreme circumstances, if you're one who follows midas hachasidus, says the Rambam, you should not leave Eretz Yisrael. And not only that, it is preferable to live in Eretz Yisrael in a city that is ruba akum, in a city that is mostly goyim, as opposed rather than living in Chutz La'aretz, in a city that is ruba Yisrael. Better to live in Eretz Yisrael in a city that might be full of Arabs today. It might not be safe. You have to ask your local rabbi about staying there. However, it is better to live in a city near Yisrael, even if it's Roiv Goyim, better than living in Chutz La'aretz in a place that is thriving with Yidden. So what we're all doing here, we're not going to get into that discussion right now. It's a very good question, and I actually contemplate and think about that a lot. But the Ramban says, in Vayikra Yud Ches, the Ramban explains a beautiful thought. He says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not give Eretz Yisrael over to any Sar or Malach to run. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does in Eretz Yisrael, Kaviyachal, he does by himself. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave this land to his children, to us, to Klal Yisrael. And the Nesivos Shalom brings from the Torah Avos in Parshas Vayetze. Beautiful thought again. That there are 2 different types of judgments in the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu judges in 2 different ways. One is the derech hateva, the way of the world, the way we know and we feel and we see that the world runs. And on that judgment of derech hateva, we are judged on Rosh Hashanah. And that is the gather which is brought down at the beginning of Parshas Vayetze, where the Torah Avos is going on. The Parsha says over there, V'hinei sulam utzav arza. By Yaakov Avinu, there's a ladder, and that ladder is firmly planted on the ground. And that's derech hateva. That, Nesivos Shalom says, that is referring to derech hateva. We're planted on the ground. But then there's something higher than that. There is v'hinei Hashem nitzav alav. The Parsha continues over there that HaKadosh Baruch Hu nitzav alav, he's standing over that ladder. That there's a separate madrega. There's a shefa that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives and takes care of alone. There is a sulam mutzav arza. That's derech hateva. But this v'hinei Hashem mutzav Hashem goes above all the rules of derech hateva, lamala of any seder and any zman. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is full of rachamim, he's full of mercy, he's full of chesed, and he's always good. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who always wants to do, and he's ready to do good for us, that hanhaga plays out only in Eretz Yisrael. Because it's a madrega, v'hinei Hashem nitzav alav. It's a madrega that is not derech hateva. Eretz Yisrael is run by HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. He doesn't give it over to any sar, to any malach, to any officers, any sraf, nothing. Nobody else is running Eretz Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does it from his, so to speak, from the office of the president, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The pasuk says, Eretz Asher Hashem Alekecha Doreish Oisa Tamid Einei Hashem Alekecha Ba. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu are on Eretz Yisrael all the time, constantly. Hashem alone is doing everything and watching out for you if you're in Eretz Yisrael. So we see from here, says in Nesivos Shalom, that every day in Eretz Yisrael is like Rosh Hashanah. Every day is like Rosh Hashanah. And if a person believes and a person has emunah, Hashem is that close to you every single day in Eretz Yisrael. If you concentrate and you think about it and you're conscious of this, you have to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is closer to you every day in Eretz Yisrael. And there's a very small addendum that the Nesivos Shalom adds here. And this is something who all of us, well, unfortunately now, sitting in Chutz La'aretz, we have to notice. Nesivos Shalom says that those who are in Chutz La'aretz, we have one thing that we can do. We can ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be zoichet to some of this hashpah, how derech Eretz Yisrael. From Chutz La'aretz, we can daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that our hashpah and our tefillah should come derech Eretz Yisrael. He quotes a pasuk. The pasuk in Malachim says, "V'hispalalu elecha derech arza." That when you're mispalel to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you want to be that close, but you're in Chutz La'aretz, you ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, let our tefillah, let the hashpah, let the shefa, let it all go through Eretz Yisrael. But the constant shefa is only in Eretz Yisrael. So Eretz Yisrael in this week's Parshah, in Parshas Shelach, is called Eretz Chemda. It's called an Eretz Chemda. And from this Eretz Chemda flows all the shefa and the bracha to everywhere. The same thing we say by Shabbos, Chemdas Hayomim. Shabbos is also called Chemda. Why? Because the source of all bracha, of all bracha comes from Shabbos. The same way Chemda is for Shabbos to the rest of the week, Eretz Yisrael is to the rest of the world. And the Meraglim did not understand this. The Meraglim in this week's Parsha did not believe this. They didn't understand that Eretz Yisrael is the source of all bracha. So we need to learn that lesson. We need to understand that whenever we have a chance, we should try, of course, to be in Eretz Yisrael. To be mispalel that we should be one day in Eretz Yisrael soon, where we can taka be that close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And to understand when we hear, it's not the ultimate. It's not the optimum place for a yid. Your vineyard, your place where you should be planted is in Eretz Yisrael. Let's learn these lessons and learn the lessons that the Meraglim, unfortunately, we still suffer all time from what happened to the Meraglim. It is a punishment that is l'doros. We cried a bechia, then shalchinam, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu unfortunately punished us forever. Let's learn this lesson and try as much as we can to be close to Eretz Yisrael.